Serious, what are some scary stories or encounters from your life? An acquaintance of mine, who happened to have been a cop, once told me this little tale he experienced several years ago. Back then, he was a deputy and still new to the patrol scene. Since he was new to it, he got called off into more simple tasks that made the more experienced deputies' jobs easier. One night, the deputy got a request over his radio to sit on a suicide scene. The victim was still inside the home and they needed the deputy to sit and guard the main entry to the home until the coroner got there to take the body. They didn't want any relatives or anyone else to enter the scene and mess up evidence. Basically, that was a standard procedure. So the deputy got to the home of the suicide victim and confirmed with the cops already on the scene that he was there to wait for the coroner. It was the middle of the night, so the deputy grabbed his flip phone out of his patrol car and settled on the front porch to play some Snake on his phone. All was totally quiet around him after everyone else left. All the deputy could hear were the occasional sounds of distant barking dogs and the faint sounds of the sparse highway traffic. The silence did indeed make him a little nervous, especially considering what lay only a few feet away and invisible to him only because of a wall. So it was only natural that his instincts had his ears on high alert. So, he was startled when he suddenly thought he heard a rustling sound, seemingly coming from inside the house behind him. All he could do was sit there and wait and listen intently. A few minutes went by though and he didn't hear anything else, so he just figured he probably heard the house settling or something. Over half an hour went by and the deputy was starting to get a little drowsy staring at Snake on his small flip phone, so he flipped it shut and sat back for a few minutes to relax. But then suddenly, there was that sound again, which seemed louder that time. A strange rustling sound, like maybe rustling papers, he thought to himself, puzzled. As he sat there and listened hard, he heard it again, and that time he was sure it was coming from inside the house behind him where the victim was. At that point, the deputy admits, he was pretty damn scared. He didn't want to call for backup until he was sure there was someone inside the house, but he also didn't want to go inside the dark creepy death scene by himself to investigate either. So he stood up and waited once again for any noise, while resting his hand on the gun in his belt. Then, the deputy drew his gun as a loud sound from behind him caused him to spin around and face a large window by the front door, covered by vertical hanging blinds. As he turned around to face the window, an explosion of movement disturbed the vertical blinds. The deputy did admit to me in the telling of this story, that he did in fact definitely jump and scream, as most anyone would. The deputy's vision quickly cleared, and he stared at the face on the other side of the window, definitely not expecting to see that particular face staring back at him. The deputy screamed and went wide-eyed. The face staring back at him made a startled sound with wide-eyed as well. Then, for a quiet moment, man and feline eyed each other before both turning away, feeling stupid. I guess the suicide victim had a pet cat, which ended up most likely going to a relative of the victim's. The deputy admitted to me after telling me this story, that he felt that that was one of the most scariest instances he'd ever had in his whole career. I know a lot of people won't believe me. A lot don't. But I really need to get this off my back. I'm about to enter my senior year of high school, and summer's been treating me awfully so far. I went on a vacation with a bunch of people I didn't know, and behold my surprise when I absolutely hated it. Then after that, I was sent to work at a summer camp, but only 3 days and I had a major injury with my knee that got me sent home in crutches. I've been spending the past 3 or so weeks sitting on the couch and passing the time, but it's going to bed that's been a challenge. I live with my mom, who's almost never home due to her habit of going out to drink wine with her friends. My dad will visit as often as he can, despite his work, but it's very rare for him to stay long. This was not helpful because it's very strenuous for me to walk, even with crutches. 24/7 it felt like I couldn't move. Like something had pulled my knee right out and slapped it back in sloppily and glued it in. It took hours to go to sleep. No matter what position I was sleeping in, my leg would always ache. Eventually, my body would wear itself to exhaustion, but not last night. It might have been 2 to 3 a.m., I'm not really sure. I was just staring up at the wall, listening to whatever was happening on the TV and trying to imagine something that would make me pass out. It didn't work like it usually did, almost like my brain felt something was off tonight. I just kind of stalled for a while, fiddling my thumbs and shifting my neck every once in a while, but imagine my surprise when I hear the doorbell. I carefully sat up to grab my crutches and painfully scooted myself to the door. "Mom? Is that you?" I asked. No reply. I looked out in the driveway and froze. My mom's car was still gone. I took a step back. Who is this? I'm not letting you in unless I know who you are." I could feel my heart sink down a bit. I was petrified. But I was caught off guard as I heard my phone ringing in the other room. I assumed the ring might have just been a malfunction or something, as the doorbell was electronic, so I limped back. My neighbor was calling. I thought they would have gone to bed right now, as they had 3 kids to look after. What I heard next made me go pale. "What the hell is on your porch?" I could feel myself stop breathing. "What are you talking about?" Just then I heard her scream out. It went through the gate. I was shocked and dropped my phone trying to stumble into the kitchen. Before I made it, I stopped. It was locked. I could tell by the thumps and knocks the thing made on the door. I didn't want to look, and I realized it would be best to make sure the intruder didn't know I was here. I quietly rolled over to my mom's bedroom after snatching my phone back. The thing was making a scratchy buzzing sound. Kind of like a cicada, but as if a dog was barking it. It's hard to describe, but it scared the shit out of me. I was definitely in tears by now. I flew under the bed and waited out until the police arrived. By the time they got here, whatever it was had fled. My neighbor was shaking. She described what the thing looked like to me. It was human in shape, but its head was drastically smaller than the rest of its tall, bony body. It had apparently been out there for an hour before she called me. She thought it was just a prank or a figment of her imagination from the wine she drank, but when her husband confirmed he saw it too, she told me. When it made a dash for my backyard, it had apparently thrown its entire body weight like a ball and ran while squatting. Kind of like a frog. I still don't know what it was. I don't think anyone else did. I might try illustrating it one day, but I'm way too scared of it coming back and I don't want to think about it for the time being.